Good afternoon, brothers and sisters. My name is Chukwuemeka, and this is the Igbo Hebrews organization. Basically, we are the Igbo people in southeastern Nigeria in West Africa that have realized that we are the Hebrews of the Bible. And upon that realization, we've left the false worship present in Catholicism or in Christianity, and we've returned to the worship of our God. Today, in this Sabbath presentation, we'll be talking about the Feast of the New Moon. It's also coincidental because today, which is the 20th of June in the Gregorian calendar, is actually a new moon on its own. So we'll be talking about that Feast of New Moon. First of all, we'll explain what the new moon is and what the feast is and why we should keep it. So let's start. For today, we're going to use the scriptures. We're going to use the book of Enoch. We're going to use the book of Jubilees. And we're also going to be reading from the book of Olaudah, which is the Igbo man that was sold to slavery and was the first to put the link between Igbo customs and the biblical customs as well. So let's get started, brothers and sisters. Children of God, the new moon, like if you see our video on the calendar of the Most High, we mentioned that the new moon is not the first day of the month like most people observe today, most people that have seen. The new moon is the first day of the full moon. So these are things that we're going to be showing to you today, brothers and sisters, to prove to you that the scriptures, what the scripture calls the new moon, what the scripture calls the new moon, is actually the first day of the full moon. Let's show you that. Let's go to the book of Enoch. Okay, brothers and sisters, if we go to the book of Enoch in chapter 78, and let's start from verse 9. Book of Enoch, Enoch 1, where we don't read Enoch 2 in our congregation because Enoch 2 is a forgery. But in the book of Enoch, chapter 78, verse 9, and it says, and in certain months, the month has 29 days, and once 28. It was talking about the moon in this particular chapter. And then in verse 10, it said, and Uriah showed me another law, when light is transferred to the moon, and on which side it is transferred to her by the sun. Verse 11, during all the period during which the moon is growing in her light, she is transferring it to herself when opposite to the sun. During 14 days, her light is full in heaven, and when she is ablaze throughout, her light is full in heaven. Verse 12, and on the first day she is called the new moon, for on that day the light rises on her. She becomes full moon. She becomes full moon exactly on the day when the sun sets in the west, and from the east she rises at night, and the moon shines the whole night through until the sun rises over against her, and the moon is seen over against the sun. Selah. So, brothers and sisters, from what Enoch, the testament that Enoch gave here, you see that the new moon, the day that is called the new moon, is the first day that the moon is full in the sky, because that is the day that the moon rises. Once the sun goes down in the west, the moon comes up in the east and shines all night until the sun comes up in the morning the following day, and the moon is seen over against the sun. That is the first day of the full moon. According to the book of Enoch, and if you can observe it yourself, there are 3 days in which the moon is full in the sky. The first day is called the new moon, and it occurs once every month. So for the new moon today, which is the 20th of June, from our location here in Nigeria, the new moon falls on the 20th of June, and this is the new moon of the 4th month, according to the Hebrew calendar. The new moon of the 4th month. Now, this new moon of the 1st month is a very important feast. Why do we need to keep it? You see, our ancestors in Igbo land in those days used to keep these laws. This is the laws and commandments that the Most High commanded our ancestors. the ancient Hebrews to keep, and they kept it in those days. Let's go to the Bible, brothers and sisters. Let me show you that in the Bible. Unfortunately, today, the people who call themselves Christians, who carry our Bible up and down, preaching nonsense to us, they tell us to do away with these laws. But these laws were given to our ancestors to keep forever. But the Christian churches, peddling our Bible up and down, they tell us to do away with those laws, that those things are old things and they are all passed away. There is no such thing as Old Testament in the sight of God, brothers and sisters. Igbo people who are listening to this presentation, please know this. There is no such thing as Old Testament in the sight of God. The laws of God is everlasting, and that law is binding. It cannot be suspended just because you are ignorant of it. So let's go to the Bible. Let me show you why we should keep these laws of God. It's not enough to go to church and pray and fast and speak in tongues and give your pastors money and do whatever you do in churches. It's not enough. You must keep the laws of the Most High, brothers and sisters. And this is what the Most High has told us to do. Let's go and see it in the Bible. So we are going to the book of Genesis. In the book of Genesis, chapter 26. In chapter 26, let's start from verse 5. It says, because that Abraham obeyed my voice and kept my charge, my commandments, my statutes, and my laws. Okay, let's read from verse 4 so that you understand this. It said, and I will make thy seed to multiply as the stars of heaven, and will give unto thy seed all these countries, and in thy seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed. This was told to our father Abraham, that from his seed, that's from the seed of Isaac, which is the seed that we, the Igbo people, came out of. It's from this seed that the nations of the world will be blessed. Brothers and sisters, you may not believe this, but if you know the contribution of Igbo people in the world today, you will see that this promise that the Most High made to Abraham has been kept. And then in verse 5, he said, because that Abraham obeyed my voice and kept my charge and my commandments and my statutes and my law. So you see, Abraham did not just offer sacrifice to God and then go about doing what he was doing. Abraham was not just righteous. He did not just accept the Most High to worship and follow the Most High instead of going in the ways of the pagans, of the Chaldeans of his days. He did a number of things. Number one, he obeyed the voice of the Most High. He kept the charges of the Most High, the commandments of the Most High, the statutes of the Most High, and the laws of the Most High. One of the statutes is also the feast, which is the feast of the new moon that we are keeping today. Okay, let's go to the Bible. Let's show you where you see that the Hebrews are keeping the feast of the new moon. We're going to the book of Psalms. So brothers and sisters, if you go to the book of Psalms, Psalm 81, verse 3, and I'll be reading the English Standard Version, not the King James Version. It says, blow the trumpet at the new moon, at the full moon on our feast day. So you see here, a Bible interpretation calls the new moon a full moon. And initially I've shown you from the book of Enoch that the new moon is actually a full moon, the first day of the full moon. So right here we see it in this English Standard Version. There are other versions of the Bible, including the Geneva version of the Bible, that also calls that new moon the full moon on our feast day. So a lot of people say the new moon is actually the first day of the month. This is totally ridiculous. Number one, the first day of the moon does not mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. How do you know that? If you go to the book of Exodus chapter 12, the Most High called Moses and Aaron and was telling them what they need to do when they leave the land of Egypt. And he said, this month shall be the first month of the year to you. This is Exodus chapter 12 from verse 1. The Most High told them, this month shall be the first month of the year. On the 10th day of the month, you should get your lamb ready, your Passover lamb ready. If the new moon was important, if the new moon was actually the first day of that month, the Most High would have told them to celebrate that first day of the month. But he didn't. Okay, so the first day of the month does not count. The Bible said in Genesis chapter 1 verse 14 that the sun and the moon and the stars are for signs and for season. Sometimes the first day of the month, you won't see any moon on it. So it doesn't mean anything. It's not a day that's been set aside for any sign or season. It's actually the first day that the full moon shines. That's the day that is called the new moon. And I've shown you here in the English Standard Version of the Bible, Psalm 81, verse 3. Blow the trumpet at the new moon, at the full moon, on our feast day. In the King James Version of the Bible, it says slightly, this is what it says in the King James Version, it says, blow up the trumpet in the new moon, in the time appointed, on our solemn feast day. So whichever way you look at it, the feast of the new moon is a moon, it's an ordinance of the Most High. It is a statute that the Most High gave the house of Jacob to keep, which is the Hebrews, the children of Jacob, the Igbo people today. This is something that we have to keep. The Most High gave it to us to keep. It's important that we do that. And now let me show you that the Igbo people, our Igbo ancestors, before the slavery period, before the colonial masters came to Africa, we were keeping this feast. And let's look at the book written by Olaudah Ukwono, who is the Igbo man that was taken to slavery, and the Most High preserved him to give this testimony to his people, to write our link between the Igbo people and the biblical people and the people of the Bible. Basically, the book of Olaudah basically shows what the Igbo community used to be before it was extremely contaminated by the colonial masters and the slave trade and every other thing else. So if you go to the book of Olaudah Ukwono, and I'm reading this version that is currently showing up here, excuse me, on page 32 of that book, they said, they have many offerings, particularly at full moons, generally 2 at harvest, before the fruits are taken out of the ground. And when any young animals are killed, sometimes they offer up part of them as a sacrifice. So you see it here. Olaudah said, let me quote it again. He said, they have many, in Igbo land, we used to have many offerings, particularly at full moons. Brothers and sisters, you see it here. We used to, in Igbo land, we used to have offerings done at full moons. This is the feast of the new moon, brothers and sisters. It's not the first day of the month. It's not when the moon is still 1/4 of the moon. It's not full. That's not new moon. It's not a moon. A half of a moon is not moon. It is not a new moon. It has to be full. And the first day of the full moon is actually the day of the new moon, which coincidentally falls in today. So as you can see here, the Igbo ancestors in Africa here used to keep the same law. Some 300 years ago in Igbo land, we used to keep this same law that was commanded of Abraham, and which David wrote in Psalm 81 verse 3 that we should keep. So this is a statute of the Most High. So brothers and sisters, before we read the book of Jubilees, let me explain to you what the book of Jubilees is. You see, the book of Jubilees is not in the Bible. If you see our video on how the Bible was put together, you will see that the Bible was actually put together by the Romans, the Greeks, these same people that have been trying to kill our ancestors that pursued us from the Middle East into Africa. They are the ones that put together the Bible, because the Bible, by the time they put it together, some of our people have run away with some of those books, and they were nowhere to be found. So the book of Jubilees was one of the books that was lost. It's an apocryphal book. Apocrypha means hidden, something that's hidden. Okay, brothers and sisters. So the book of Jubilee is an apocrypha. It's one of the books that our ancestors hid from the Romans and the Greeks when they were looking for us to kill us. All this can be found in the book of Maccabees, which is also another apocryphal book. Now, the book of Jubilees, why do we think it is canonical? It is inspired by the Most High. You see, in the book of Jubilees, when you read it, you see some customs that is being done in Igbo land that our ancestors used to do. Those things are not in the Bible, but they are in the book of Jubilees. So this shows you that the Igbos were aware of that book of Jubilees, and it's something that we were practicing. For instance, our marital laws, if you see our videos on proof that the Igbo people are the Hebrews of the Bible, we mention this. Our marital laws in Igbo land, we don't give out our second daughter in marriage before the first daughter. It's not done. Even for males, the second son does not take a wife before the first child. Even though that is done for males, it's heavily frowned upon. This is not in the Bible, but it is in the book of Jubilees. And this is what the Igbo people have been doing, and we are still doing it till this very day in Igbo land. So this is present in the book of Jubilees. It shows that we are the people of the scriptures. We are the real Hebrews of the Bible. So it also shows that the book of Jubilees is canonical to us. The Romans and the Greek cannot tell us what our ancestors have written because it is our book, not theirs. Okay, so that's it. That's a brief introduction to the book of Jubilees. You can go and read it for yourself and decide if it's canonical or not. But in it, you see Igbo traditions that we still practice. Okay, so brothers and sisters, if you go to the book of Jubilees, and we're going to go to the book of Jubilees in chapter 6, it says, in the book of Jubilees, in chapter 5, verse 29, it says, on the new moon of the 4th month, the fountains of the great deep were closed, and the floodgates of heaven were restrained. And on the new moon of the 7th month, all the mouths of the bottomless gulf of the earth were opened, and the water began to flow down into the deep below. Now let's go to chapter 6, the book of Jubilees, chapter 6, from verse 25. Okay, see, on the new moon of the 1st month, he was told to make for himself an ark. He's talking about Noah. The angel was telling Moses about Noah, what Noah did before and after the flood. So, book of Jubilees, chapter 6, verse 25. On the new moon of the 1st month, he was told to make for himself an ark, and on that day the earth was dry, and he saw from the opened ark the earth. On the new moon of the 4th month, which is today, the mouths of the depths of the bottomless pit beneath were closed. On the new moon of the 7th month, all the mouths of the abysses of the earth were opened, and the waters began to descend into them. On the new moon of the 10th month, the tops of the mountains were seen, and Noah was glad. Because of this, he ordained them for himself as feasts for a memorial forever, and thus they are ordained. Brothers and sisters, when Noah ordained these new moons as feasts forever, they remain ordained in the heavenly tablets according to the book of Jubilees. That is why in the book of Psalm 81, verse 3, David said, blow the trumpet on the new moon, on the full moon, on the day of our feast. We still celebrate this feast even when we run into Africa, like I have shown in the book of Olauda. So Noah ordained these new moons as feast because the new moons, the Most High gave him information. Build an ark. The water stopped. The rain started. The water stopped. The abyss, the mouth of the abyss opened and closed, and he saw the earth and everything. He was glad. And these days he ordained as feast forever, and thus they are ordained, brothers and sisters. So this is why the angel was telling Moses here in the book of Jubilees. And let us read the book of Jubilees, chapter 6, verse 35. It says, for I know, and from now on will I declare it to you, and it is not of my own devising, for the book lies written in the presence of me, and on the heavenly tablet the division of the days is ordained, or they forget the feast of the covenant, and walk according to the feasts of the Gentiles, after their errors and after their ignorance. So the angel was testifying to Moses that in later years we're going to forget this and we'll walk according to the feast of the Gentiles. Again, we don't use the word Gentile, it's not biblical. What it means is the hidden, the other nations. Okay, so right now our people are celebrating birthdays, New Yam festival. They're celebrating what you call Easter, Christmas. We are celebrating the feast of the heathens. We have forgotten the feast that was ordained for us, the Hebrews, the Igbos, the feast that was ordained for our people. We've forgotten that and are walking in the ways of the Gentiles, in their error and in their ignorance. So, brothers and sisters, this is why we celebrate the new moon, and this is why we try to remind our people that these things are to be celebrated. So, what kind of feast do you celebrate in the new moon? On the day of the new moon is nothing special. The Most High just wants us to be happy and to rejoice in His presence. What you need to do with your family, first of all, that day is a Sabbath. So that means you are not supposed to do any servile work. So what you do with your family, you sit down with your family, have a feast with your family, you tell stories, tell folklores or tell stories, read the scriptures, and let your children or the people around you know that this is your ancestors. The story of the Bible is the story of your ancestors. And remind your children that the God of the Bible is not asleep. No matter what's happening in the world today, the Most High is still awake. He is still in charge, and He will come to our rescue. Okay, brothers and sisters, before we close, I want to read something again from the book of Jubilees. And again, I've explained the origin of the book of Jubilees. But if you read the book of Jubilees, chapter 16, and in verse 1, it says, "On the new moon of the 4th month, we appeared to Abraham at the oak of Mamre, and we talked with him, and we announced to him that Sarah, his wife, will give him a son." Selah. So, brothers and sisters, the new moon of the 4th month is also another time to pray for those who are looking for children in our midst. The Hebrew women are not supposed to be looking for children. The Most High has blessed us with so much fertility. May the Most High, on this day of the new moon, remember His promise to Abraham, and also visit that promise to the descendants of Abraham, which is the Igbo people today. May He actualize His promise to us today. May the women in our midst that are looking for children, may the Most High bless them with the fruit of the womb. Selah.